if you're Coach Shalane Flanagan, do you leave this race encouraged or saying we have some work to do?
I think. Hello, and welcome to the Stride Report podcast. I am Ben Weissel, and joining me, as always, Garrett Allen. How's it going, man?
Ben, big shout out to part-time editor Gavin Struve. He is the editor for D2 and D3 here at the Stride Report, who also sometimes helps me out on the weekends. And I said, hey, man, I'm going to Penn State, Oregon this week. Can you help me out, man? And he did an awesome job. We were able to get a really in-depth article out on Saturday. I thought he really did a nice job there. So shout out to him. Even as a Nebraska fan, he let me go watch a crazy game at Penn State, Oregon. So I really wanted to shout him out. So tell him I appreciate him.
Good job, Gavin. We don't need to talk about the Penn State game because it's like every other Penn State game in a big game that has ever happened.
Yeah, but you know what the wildest part is? Virginia Tech beat NC State. That wasn't supposed to happen. So I think that was the craziest thing, was that Penn State lost, but Virginia Tech won a game. That was insane.
Yeah. Well, you're still not making me feel any better. You know what did make me feel better, though, was 2 new ratings on Spotify. We're up to 214 there. No Apple ratings, still at 122, but appreciate those Spotify. Make sure you guys are giving us those ratings and reviews there. Follow us, subscribe on YouTube. We got a lot of stuff going up there, including obviously our podcast. But this week, Garrett, we had one really major race in Gans Creek, and then we had another significant race with some top teams at the Cowboy Jamboree. But the major race, of course, was Gans Creek, which we previewed last week on the podcast. We will start there, and let's go on the women's side, where we saw Florida take home the win, beating Northern Arizona by 24 points. Colorado ending up 3rd, Virginia 4th, and Utah 5th. Rosemary Languisa from Washington State winning on the individual side. Where do you want to start with this? I mean, so many interesting results across the board.
Let's start with the individual side. I feel like that's something that we can knock out pretty early and then kind of really dive into some team results here. Here's the thing. Rosemary Languisa came out of nowhere, has run 2:05 for 800 meters and 4:13 for 1,500 meters on the track as of this past spring. Talented, good. You could even theoretically think that she would move up and be an effective second, third scorer for Washington State this fall. There was nothing on her resume to suggest that she would win this race. This is a ridiculous performance that leaves me scratching my head. Like, how come we never saw her in anything above 1,500 meters? Like, even running 1,500 meters at 4:13 doesn't suggest that she's winning this race. Like, it's such an out-of-nowhere performance that it's like, did she just not want to run the 5K on the track season? Like, it's just really head-scratching. It really makes you wonder, like, man, what? Like, what happened here? Mary Okawaka behind her from Tennessee, really close, less than a second behind. She comes out of nowhere. Again, we knew she would be good. I don't think we realized she would be this good. Same thing with Mercy Lankirwa. We mentioned her in an episode or two ago. I said Iowa State, big fan of them. She was way better than I thought she would be. And then Angelino Perez, the top American in this race in fourth place from Wake Forest, she gets 4th. And now she was a high school standout, a true high school star, struggled for a few years going to Florida, took some time off, went to Wake Forest, and now is all of a sudden a stud. This was one of the most surprising races from an individual's perspective that I can remember in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the top 5, and there's one name in there that you would have expected to be in the top 5 when this race kicked off, and that was Juliet Cherubit, who finished 5th. Like, it's just a stunning result, to your point, and it really does shape how we're going to see some of these teams moving forward. I mean, Washington State obviously didn't have the greatest day as a team, but you look, you have.
I don't know. I thought they actually had a pretty good day, Ben.
Well, I will say this with the caveat that they finished 1st and 6th individually with Rosemary Languisa and Zina Cheptu, who were fantastic, right? And they end up finishing 9th in large parts of them, they're gonna. They're definitely. We've talked a lot about the men on the Washington State side, but you look, the women are going look like they'll be following a very similar track, and I mean, it very well could lead to a national appearance for them because I mean, you look at their top two. Caroline Jepcourier was 41st in this race, looked adequate enough as a third scorer. If they can figure out those fourth and fifth spots a little bit better, this is certainly a dangerous team, and it's really because Longisa and Cheptu are vastly exceeding expectations here.
So right now, Longisa, here's the challenge that I come with Longisa. There are what I call like the three majors of cross country season. There's this race usually, which is like the pre nationals, right? It's like the equivalent of like last year's Nuttycombe or the Virginia Invite or Cowboy Jamboree a few years ago. That's what this first race is, the late September race. Then there's Nuttycombe, and then there's nationals, right? There's three majors. She wins one of these majors, right? But at the same time, there is no Jane Hedegren in this race. There's no Pamela Kosky. There's no Doris Lemengall. There's no Amy Bunnage, right? Stanford did not race at all. And yet it's still a huge win. Mm-hmm. Where do you, A, rank her, Longisa, in our top 50 rankings right now?
Yeah.
And then B, what's a realistic ceiling for someone after a win like this?
So I think where you put her in our rankings, I think you need to be a little bit conservative here. Again, because like you look at this field and it's like, it's hard to say. It's like, hey, was Olamomoi just running as a pack with the rest of her Florida crew? Was she like, could she have gone all out? Obviously, Cherubit is a real nice win, but again, you're looking at this top five, and it's like you don't have someone to like use as a measuring stick in a lot of ways. I think she's a top. I think you certainly put her in the top 20, top 25. I think in the rankings after a win like this. I think from a ceiling perspective, though, I think it's much higher than that. I think this is a potential top 10 name in the country. Again, with the caveat, she has to be able to prove that she can do this for an entire season. This is one awesome race, and it's great to see this flash. She flashes that kind of potential. Now, I just don't expect her to be able to do this consistently and against the type of competition she's going to need to finish in the top 10, which is why I think 2025 is a perfect spot in our rankings.
Yeah, I would probably go closer to top 20. This is a pretty major win. I think you kind of have
absolutely.
to. I don't know if I put her top 10 yet, but I think you win this. I think you got to put her top 20. But it's not just her, right? It's trying to figure out like, well, what do we do with Ogawaka or Kirwa or Perez? Like Perez is maybe the most perplexing name, right? Because when you see international standouts come in, sometimes it's like, hey, you're either just, it's boom or bust in that first year. And then over time, maybe you get a little bit more refined, a little bit more consistent. And so like in a weird way, you almost feel like, hey, the talent is legitimate and not just, hit or miss sometimes with, women in that top three. Where Perez, I'm like, man, it's just such a leap out of nowhere where it's like, you really just didn't see it coming at all. So yeah, really perplexing there. Olamomoi in ninth, now running with her team, although the top four of Florida went 7, 8, 9, 10, they were 14 seconds apart. How do you interpret this result for Hilda Olamomoi? Can you?
I think it's a step in the right direction because, again, she didn't finish the spring season on the highest of notes, at least certainly not to her level of what we would expect from her based off of the rest of her career. The fact that they all did finish close by, but to your point, it's not like they crossed the line together.
Right.
Maybe indicates that, hey, she was running with the team. Let me look at the splits. I'd be curious to look at where they were. So I mean, she was right.
She
there
fell back.
Yeah. So it wasn't as if she was like cruising. Yeah. I mean, this just feels representative of where she was at the end of last year. Good, but not at her peak.
What percent of her fitness right now do you think she's at? Is she at 80%, 90%?
Yeah, I feel like 80, 85 is kind of where I was landing. Good enough to be an All-American, but not good enough to be a top 10 name.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Let's move off of the individuals here on the women's side. Let's go to what's really matters here. And that's me saying that Florida was going to be a problem. And to be honest, I think I even surprised myself a little bit. Florida taking the overall win by going 7, 8, 9, 10. That's Judy Chepkowick, Tia Wilson, Hilda Olamomoi, and Desma Chepkowick in that order. And then all the way back, I want to say 68th place was Caroline Wells, which is actually a pretty solid day for her. To close out the scoring, Florida puts up 102 points, Northern Arizona 102. A handful of notes here before we go down this list. Northern Arizona did not have Carrie Balaga or Addie Engel. Colorado did not have Ashley Jones or Addison Doricamp. Oregon did not have Shalana Eldez. They didn't have Mia Barnett. They didn't have Diana Cherotich, which is important to note. And then Stanford, the one team that you really liked going into this race, didn't even run. No, which I get. If you're not going to have those top women, then I guess don't run. Alabama didn't have Doris Lemengol or Brenda Two-Way. A lot of really glaring omissions, that I thought were surprising. What's your take on all before we actually get into the actual team results? Why did we see so many more glaring omissions than it maybe felt like we have seen in previous years?
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways from both the men and women's side is it was really hard to get a sense of these results because of all those missing people. Now, I think part of this is such a big meet, but it's also happening in September, right? And we don't always see top names in September. Now, we thought there would be more people that would potentially run because this is a newer course. Like you're getting ready for nationals. You want to get that experience on how to run it. But I think a lot of these teams seem to take the approach of, hey, we'll let some of our more inexperienced or back end names get that opportunity. I wonder if a lot of these top names traveled and then they just ran the course but didn't race. I don't have a good reason other than it's just the time of the year that we didn't see a lot of these top names. And I think we've seen, and I'd have to pour through the data to see if this feels right or if this is accurate. It's not just a feeling, but it feels like college coaches have been getting more conservative in these early season races and holding back because we've seen success for a lot of programs where, hey, you run 4 races, you run like Nuttycombe, you run your conference meet, you run regionals, and then you run nationals. And that's your 4 races for your top men or women. And that seemed to work. It seems to have worked for a lot of athletes. Then you throw in the world championships where we knew we weren't going to see certain men or women. I think this is going to be a trend moving forward because if a brand new national course isn't going to force coaches to race their top men or women, I don't see what else is going to push them to do that.
Yeah, I will say it's like I've noticed that too. I was looking at it's Monday, we're recording this, and I'm writing the Cowboy Jamboree article, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of big names not racing right now. And I get it, especially if you're Oregon, the Oregon women, right?
Yep.
It's like, certain things that happened last year, like Oklahoma State, obviously the men's side, they struggled at the national meet last year. They fell down to 8th. That's why you probably didn't see Fawad Masaudi. It's why you probably didn't see Brian Masau, right? Guys who raced late. I mean, I know that Masaudi was at the World Championships, right? So something to consider there. But the actual team results, Florida still looks, regardless of whether teams had certain names or not, Florida looks really good. And I would like an apology from you right now.
I'm not going to apologize. They're on my fantasy team. I'm super excited. I can't wait to beat you with Florida. I think I got them in like the 4th round.
Yeah, but I was also the one that was like way high on them coming into this weekend. You were like, I don't like them at 6. Just because you drafted them doesn't mean that you were necessarily higher. What is this flawed logic? This is some Stephen A shit. What the fuck are you doing?
Hey, this is just playing both sides of the coin. I'm heads I win, tails you lose. I agree. I thought that Florida early in this season there could be some bumps all along the way, and they hit the ground running immediately. And I think what you have to like the most about it is it's not like they're relying on just 1 or 2 low sticks to carry the weight of their scoring. And you have 4 women. Now, again, that 5th woman needs to be better. And maybe I think Morley can put together a better result and potentially be a closer 5th scorer for them. But I just really like what we're seeing out of them. I like that they were aggressive from the get-go. Obviously, they still faded, but the fact that they were able to be aggressive and still put together this result this early in the season, I think bodes very, very well.
Here's the craziest part. Northern Arizona at full strength wins this race. Carrie Balaga did not run, neither did Addie Angle. If just Balaga runs and she gets 20th, Northern Arizona wins? Do
Yeah.
they? No. Well,
No,
no, they don't.
it would be like a
It,
2 point
it would
Florida
be
win.
really close. But okay, so like if Balaga runs and she gets like 15th, I think
Yeah.
that might even be it. And that's still pretty tight. So but then they didn't race Addie Angle. I was really impressed by Northern Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
The depth came through, loved them. I thought it really went well. Agnes Batig in 12th, Haley Burns in 13th. I was high on her. I was not that high on her. Really well, nice run by her. Ava Mitchell 23rd. Kiki Vaughn 35th. Emma Stutzman 43rd. Complete overall day. Colorado. They packed together incredibly well. Jessie Sikora in 17th, Mia LaRochelle in 21st, Hannah Prosser 22nd, Abby Nichinecki in 33rd, and then a little bit further backward, I can't really quite seem to figure out where that fifth runner placed.
Holly Barker.
That's 73rd. Holly Barker, the freshman, 73rd. No Ashley Jones, no Addison Dornkamp. One, in the grand scheme of things of like knowing that NAU didn't run those two women, knowing that Colorado didn't run two of those women, has your thought on the podium changed at all? Really, our top 6 rankings.
No, I mean, this is the rare result where I think you can look through the top 5 finishers in the team standings, and I think they all come out of this feeling pretty happy about themselves and solidified their spots in their rankings. Right? I think NAU. This is like you said, a really good result for them. Absolutely a podium, a team that should, I think, podium this year. Colorado, we talked about all their depth, and that was showcased here. Even without their top 2 or potential 2 top runners, they still put 4 within the top 35. Like I think you got to really like what they're going to be able to do this year. Now, I think Colorado's ceiling is still TBD, because I think we need to see, hey, do they actually have a true low stick, and what does that look like? But from a depth perspective, I think this is everything that we thought they could be. And then Virginia and Utah, I think you have to be very happy with these results as well. I mean, Virginia definitely exceeded expectations. In Utah, we thought that they could be a top 5 team this week, and they proved that absolutely correct with just nothing flashy, but just solid performance from 1 through 5.
I'll say, I thought our women's predictions team-wise looked pretty good. I mean, we said Stanford, sure, but they didn't even run. We said Oregon, but with the caveat of, hey, only if they run their top women, right? Yep. I mean, we were pretty spot on with a lot of this. Now, Virginia deserves an apology from me, and I apologize, but I think it's also fair to, hey, at that point in time, where we didn't Tatum David, 15th place, huge performance. Jillian Boucher in 24th is about right, but it's like everything else that, Mary Ellen Udele in 46 is a big overperformance. Ella Wolke in 50th, Tatum Ollison in 75th, Stella Kermis in 79th. Everyone was generally about 15, 20 spots better than I think we thought they'd be. And they were just flat out great. Shout out to Amaral of Virginia. She just had a really good vision, and you can see how it was constructed here. This is a young team that will continue to get better, not just this year, but next year in Utah. I mean, Utah just makes us look really good. I don't even have anything else to say beyond that. They were just really, really solid.
And with Virginia, it was like Tatum David, what we knew she needed to step up to be not necessarily low stick, but a good front runner for this team. That's exactly what she did. And the Udele, I was going to mention that as well. I thought she was so key to this team's success, because we'd seen her in years past be this type of scorer, but we did not see it last year for Virginia like we saw it for Arkansas. And that was such a big missing piece when we were previewing them last year. We were expecting something from her. If we get this Mary Ellen Udele, then this team is significantly more powerful, and I don't think this is a fluke at all.
Oregon in 6th place. They do not run Cherotich. They do not run Ayildas. They do not run Mia Barnett. Cherubit looks excellent in 5th. Dalia Frias, nice rebound after basically not racing for a year. 27th place. She looked really, really good. Ella Thorstead in 36. pretty solid for someone who
Mm-hmm.
could be a back end contributor for a national title contending team. Anika Thompson, not her best day. I think she probably knows that. 56th place, but probably capable of being better. If you're Oregon, do you leave this, if you're Coach Shalane Flanagan, do you leave this race encouraged or saying we have some work to do?
I think slightly we need some work to do, but it's like a razor thing. Razor thin on that, because I think the only one result that you would pick out that was concerning is the Thompson result, right? The everyone else in that top four, I think you have to be pretty happy with, assuming that a lot of these women you aren't banking on necessarily to be scorers for you. If they are, that's great. But I'm not that concerned. Uh, I will say though, if Thompson isn't at her best, then that does leave this Oregon team with a little bit of shaky depth, at least in terms of upfront firepower when they're going to be going up against the likes of a BYU team. So I lean a little more discouraged than encouraged, but only slightly.
My sleeper team for this meet was Iowa State. They got 7th. Your sleeper team for this meet was Missouri. They got 8th. Iowa State's top 3 was unreal. They were insanely good. It was the second best top 3 in the field, I want to say, behind Florida. Yeah, I'm going to say that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
They went 3, 14, and 20. Mercyline Kirwa, Betty Kipchoge, who joined the team last year in 14th place, and Maëlle Porcher in 20th. Where does Iowa State reside in our rankings when we make our first update? Not this week, but probably next week.
That's tough. I think in the 18 to 20 range would be kind of where I think I'd put them.
I'd have to think about that. You might be right. I would maybe like inch closer to like 15, 16.
Okay.
But because like if Oregon's won, like all these teams were already, I think with the exception of Virginia,
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Utah is already at 16. I mean, like those teams were already kind of ahead there. So maybe closer to like 17. But yeah, I could probably see that.
I think if this was the men's race and they finished 7th, then I think that's a little bit of a different discussion. The women's race, the field was not quite as strong, especially when you drop a Stanford.
So then what about Missouri?
So yeah, Missouri. Oh man. I think top 25 certainly. I don't know how much more. And I think I had Missouri on the men's side. Actually, the women's team I think I had was Wake Forest, who finished 10th, which I was pleased with their performance.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Perez performance carrying the day, but I thought this was in the cards for them to put down a good day. Very young team last year. And they stepped up. Again, it wasn't a massive step, but it was certainly a big improvement from where we saw them last year. And I'm heartened to see what we got out of the Lady Demon Deacons.
So these meets are huge from Kolas national qualifying perspectives, right? You know, obviously the higher your place, the better your chances are. Teams that didn't qualify last year, like Iowa State, Missouri, Washington State, Wake Forest, Duke, Tennessee, are in really good positions after all placing within the top 12. At what point in these finishes, this team standings, do you think this is probably the cutoff for having enough Kolas points or being in the Kolas qualifying conversation for the national meet? At what point do you only get like one Kolas point?
So, I mean, you're probably banking on a Kolas point from Michigan State, right? If you're finishing in that top 12, Syracuse.
Reminder, may I remind you, Alabama got 19th, but they did so without their top 2 women, one of whom probably would have won this race, the other who probably would have been at least top 10, at least. So Alabama probably gives you a point.
Yeah, so there's maybe Princeton as well. So you're talking 3-4 points possibly. So
I think if you want to qualify, you need 2 points out of this race.
Yeah, so you probably the line is probably like if you think Princeton could potentially give you points, then it's like Nebraska at 16. If not, it's Tulane at 14. that gives you at least 2 points, I think, in this race.
Yeah, I would maybe argue like Oregon State. I think Princeton to Oregon State. I think Oregon State could sneak in. Alabama probably gets in. So if Princeton's probably the cutoff for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. That's roughly where my guess would have been as well. Okay, let's move off to the men's race here. We'll talk individuals first. Solomon Kipchoge of Washington State. Washington State completes the sweep of the individual titles. This race, by the way, went out crazy fast. Have you seen what the first 1K split is?
Well, the 2K split is 5:19, so 2:39. Holy
2:39 for Titus Kimaru of Texas Tech. He did not hang on. He instead faded to 37th place. Instead, Solomon Kipchoge. That is crazy. What was 3K? 3K was 8:18. That is cooking. What was 5K? 5K was 13:53.
Oh, man.
That is cooking. That's fast. But in the end, Solomon Kipchoge second. Joash Ruto of Iowa State, the steeplechaser, gets second. Bernard Cheria, great day for him. Third place. Dismas Lokira in fourth. And Dominic Sarum of Colorado in fifth. Solomon Kipchoge, my pick to win the individual title. He, of course, does. Thoughts? Do you have any?
This felt a lot more chalk, right, than the women's side. I think Solomon Kipchoge kind of picked up where we thought he would. Obviously, did not run at the NCAA championships last year, but he came into it as a possible title contender. Looked every bit the part this week, winning over Joash Ruto by 8 seconds, really pouring it on there at the end, which was very impressive to see. I think good run by Ruto. I would have expected almost Kwemoy Berra and Ruto to be flipped in these results. So really good run by Ruto and Chariot as well. But I mean, again, all these guys we knew were super talented. This might be a little bit higher than what we could have maybe expected. But I think good runs from everybody in that top four. It's the Sarum result. I think that is probably the most surprising out of the top five.
I would agree. I think Chariot in particular getting third is huge. Like, he's good and he's been good. Like, you can see the talent on him is like, even coming to this year, like you're like, this guy is clearly crazy talented and like maybe has just as much natural gift as much as like these guys in the top 10. Yeah. But this was like, you know, like you kind of got to show it, prove it. Right. And I think he certainly did. Team race, Iowa State just destroys this field. 47 points. They go 2, 6, 7. That's Joash Ruto second, Sanel Masando sixth, Robin Kiwa-Berra seventh, Rogers Kipling 13th, Mishak Kimutai in 19th. Virginia men come through with 107 points of their own. Fantastic race. Colorado, fantastic race in third. Alabama doesn't really look like by their individual performances that they should have gotten fourth. They did. It was kind of weird, but congrats to them. BYU in fifth. They did not run Corrigan. They did not run Boyden. Still would have liked to see them be a little bit better. Syracuse sixth, Butler seventh, Northern Arizona eighth, Wake Forest ninth, and Michigan State 10th. Iowa State. Do you have anything to say about Iowa State?
No, we were maybe worried they weren't going to come across in this first race guns blazing, and they absolutely did. They looked fantastic in every bit of the TSR number one team that we predicted them to be.
Agreed. Okay. Now that we've done with that, Virginia. This has to feel like, I know it's September. I understand that. I don't want to overreact to September, but this has to feel like a deep breath of relief. This has to the monkey's off their back. Yeah. It feels like, hey, we finally proved that we're legit. Gary Martin in ninth, not surprising. Justin Wachtel, this is what we've been saying for a year, like since 2022. Like, this kid is legit. It took forever, but he finally got there, and he got 12th. And then the rest of these names. Will Anthony thought he could have been better, but 25th is still very good. Nathan Mountain, 29th. Very good for him. Brett Gardner, 32nd. Very good result. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the team that we had hoped and really wanted to see. and they came through with 107 points, not close to Iowa State. They were 60 points off, but really, really good. Does this change your perspective of them? Are they a podium threat right now?
Yes, I think they
Let
are.
me rephrase
And
that. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. Are they a podium favorite right now?
no, they are not a podium favorite in my mind. I think they are exactly where we thought they were on paper, right? I think this is maybe a little bit better than what we could have expected, especially the Wachtel result. But I mean, when you added Gardner into this lineup, you added Nicholas Benston into this lineup, who ran very poorly for his standards, like, and certainly could be much better and give them a lot more complete top six at least. I think this is kind of the model that we saw on paper. Martin leading the way with Anthony and Mountain right behind, Gardner, Benston kind of, and Wachtel all providing value up front. I think Wachtel's certainly exceeded that so far in this one race, but this really is more validating, I think, of that TSR number 6 ranking that we had them at. And I feel like I still feel the same way as I did before, where they can get on the podium. I'm not going, it would have had been such an overwhelmingly good result for them to move into my mind the top 4, considering we have not seen it at the national level for a lot of these guys, and considering the type of teams that they're going up against in that top 4.
See, here's the thing. And again, like I'm always the one who's like, don't be reactionary, and then I'm reactionary. But like Wake Forest didn't run Rocky Hansen, they didn't run Joseph O'Brien. Okay.
Yep.
But they got 9th. And even if you add those guys in, are they
It wasn't great.
are they beating Virginia? Probably not. BYU, if James Corrigan got 15th and Thomas Borden got 20th, and then you move everyone else up, they get 3rd. They don't get 2nd, they get 3rd. So if I'm Virginia, I'm like, hey, we're like, fine. You guys didn't run your full squads. That's okay. Even if you did run your full squads, we're still better than you. Do I need to see it more first? Yes. Would I maybe bump up Virginia to 5 in our rankings? Probably. But otherwise, I don't think you can fake 5 in the top 32.
No, I'm fine with putting them in the top 5. I think it's the conundrum of it's like the 76ers conundrum of like I've seen this story before, like in the regular season, and now, granted, this is a better regular season result than they've had over the last couple of years. So clearly, this year feels different from the get go. I've said that a lot about the Sixers. This feels different this year. And when we get to the playoffs, you get to the national championship, it's not. Now, this is not an apples to apples comparison, but this is also how my mind works. When I've been scarred, a lot of times this is the way I see things. So I am probably being a touch conservative on Virginia, but I think they've done everything we could ask to this point, and I'm not going to argue with you too vociferously if you want to put them in your top 4.
Thank you for not arguing. I appreciate it. Colorado 3rd. Feel like this is just Carlson's got to feel great, right?
Yeah.
This is a heck of a result. I mean, they ran so well. Sarum is better than we thought he would be in 5th. Givens in 15th, better than we thought he was going to be. Dean Casey in 35th, not great, but like, okay, he started off slow last year and he still was All-American. James Overberg 30th, that beats expectations. And then Lucas Hogg 41st, Jake Liebert 44th. I mean, the guys ran so well together. Wilson George is in, where was
54th.
he? 54th. Thank you. Just a great, complete overall squad. Casey can be better in the future. They're not favored for the podium. I think we can both agree on that. They're not.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. What % chance right now would you give them to be on the podium this fall?
I'll go 15%.
Yeah, I probably would have said about 15, 10 maybe. But yeah.
I think this is the classic team that squeaks onto the podium because they just don't screw up and they score
Ooh,
like 220 points or something, and the favorites, someone blows up or two teams blow up, and then all of a sudden you're kind of looking around and you're like, oh, yeah, I guess nobody else is scoring less than 200 points, so I guess we're on the podium now. And it feels like they are just going to be so rock solid. It seems inconceivable to me that they're going to really fall that far back in any race with this amount of depth. So and this is exactly what we said coming in, right? Their depth was going to lead them. Having Sarum be this good of a low stick and Givens run this well, I think is vastly exceeding expectations, but the strength of this team still remains, and it's their depth. And I think that's just going to keep them in the thick of races, even when you wouldn't expect them to be.
Alabama 4th. Dismissed Locura in 4th. Dennis Caputo in 10th is about right. They had in 40th place Nelson Perican, and then two other guys finishing 57th and 82nd. I have no idea. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's a good team result. Like, 4th place in this field is very good, and it aligns with their TSR number 11 preseason ranking. I don't think they beat anyone that they couldn't have, and I don't think they lost to anyone that they shouldn't have. I don't like. What's my take supposed to be?
I don't think you need to have a take on every team. This feels very Iowa State-esque. They are who we thought they were.
They are who we thought they were. BYU 5th. Are you concerned about BYU?
Yes, a little bit. Now, again, it's September. They're missing guys, and it's September. This is not a coaching staff that is planning their training around a September early season meet. They'll be at nationals. They picked up plenty of points here. They're just they're trying stuff out, right? And I thought they would hit the ground running a little bit more than this, and that's why I'm a little concerned. I didn't like what I saw from nearly anybody. I wish we could have seen one or two guys get closer to that top 10, but I'm not concerned to the point where I still don't, where I think they can't podium. I think they're still in a position to podium. They got the talent. I think Thompson can be better. I think there's a couple guys throughout this lineup that could pop more, and they got reinforcements coming. If we see another race like this at Nuttycombe, which I'm not sure if they're running at Nuttycombe, but I would guess they are, then I'll kind of start raising a yellow flag there.
Syracuse 6th, Butler 7th. Pretty predictable, really predictable, actually, even if I didn't predict them. Does that make sense? Yes. And then Northern Arizona 8th, without Cale Groten-Huijsen, without Colin Salmon. Yep. Do you have a take for this?
No. Eric LaRue looks good.
Eric LaRue does look good. I thought Northern Arizona was actually pretty solid without those guys. I thought they actually held their own. Wake Forest 9th, 311 points with 311 points, without Rocky Hansen. If you add Rocky Hansen and Joseph O'Brien into the results and move everyone up 2 spots, then you effectively get, if you want to allow me to do math for 2 quick seconds here, you get 64,
like a third place team, probably
164
right?
points. You get 4th place.
Yeah,
not bad, not good. Are they still a podium team? Podium threat?
I'm a little bit more concerned about them than I am BYU, I will say. I think you can make a pretty compelling argument for Virginia over them.
Michigan State 10th. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we just need to see a little bit more from like a Charlie Sprout or something like that. Like, I think there's a
Charlie Sprout needed to be better, for sure. Yeah. And I'm sure he probably knows that. But, yeah, he needs to be better. This team is still a threat for the podium. I would agree. I'm a little more concerned. All right, 10th place, Michigan State. Best performance of the meet relative to expectations?
Yes. Yeah, that feels right. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there.
10th place, Riley Hawk. I don't know how you say that. 8th place, he's pretty much Justin Wachtel, except 4 places better. Like, star in high school, absolute stud. I actually think Hawk was more of a star than Wachtel was. But regardless, we've been saying this, like, hey, Hawk's going to be, like, really good. He's going to be really good. And it just never really seemed to be the case until now. 8th place in this field is legit. He's legit. And then they've got guys in like Oosterink in 68th, Pennawall in 71st, Westfall in 73rd. Really strong scoring contingent. And, the fifth guy back in 117th place. Okay, fine. If your lead score is going to be 8th, though, it doesn't really matter that much. Balanced team, solid team, decent enough team. They just look like they're hungry after missing nationals last year. Love this result for them. Yeah.
Nothing else to add there. 11th Tulane, 12th Missouri, 13th Princeton, 14th Stanford, and 15th Washington State. I liked what I saw from Missouri. This is the exact lineup that we thought they would be able to produce and succeed with. Limo looked great. Stanford, very underwhelming. No Lex Young there, but it just the youth movement that I was really hoping we would see has not really come to fruition in any strong way. And then Washington State, not a great run for them. Now, I think they are missing, I forget his name, one of their incoming
so Rogers Chalal is not racing this fall, but
yeah.
Evans Karui was a DNF.
Yes. So obviously Karui DNFing was really impactful. If you put him in, what do we say, top 10,
yep.
They move up significantly.
Like 175 points, something like that.
Yeah. So that puts them in 9th, which again feels about right for this Washington State team.
Agreed. So, but by the way, their women's team finished 9th. Who would have thought if that was a yeah. bet? Which team? That would have been crazy plus money.
Not Stanford's a sweep of the Washington of the individuals.
Ooh, parlay that together. Yeah. Ooh, we're degenerates. Anyways, Stanford. I'm just it's getting really frustrating. Even if you add Lex Young in, they're not a top 10 team. At least I don't think so.
I just don't understand what's happened with Stanford.
Yeah, I think they cut 105. It's 3. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't. They're not top 10. It's just really frustrating. Like the talent's there, they recruit well. They should be better than this, even without Lex. Like it's just not a good result. So again, unbelievably frustrating, but it is what it is. Loved this for Air Force in 16th place, Princeton in 13th. I know I was really high on them, but they didn't run like Gregorski. They didn't run Weston Brown. They didn't run Jackson Short, and they didn't run one other name who I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. Not the point. I still
Miles
like
Hogan looks good.
He looked great. He was 18th, and then Jacob Nenow in 24th. This team, I thought the team was going to be crazy deep. In fact, they were just one of the more imbalanced,
top-heavy teams.
yeah, top-heavy. They're actually the complete antithesis of what I theorized. But that's
I
okay.
agree. Yeah.
All right, going through these teams here. At what point, just like the women's side, does the Kolas qualifying scenario not mean as much if you fall out?
So Eastern Kentucky at 17, that feels like a potential point because they were so bad, but they can't be this bad. Gonzaga was bad too, but I don't know. I feel like if you were top 17, or top 16, you got enough points. I don't know after that. I don't feel good about any of these other teams qualifying.
So you don't think Michigan qualifies after 18th?
I think they're like right on the line, and that's after them. I really don't feel like anybody.
Because between Lipscomb, Ole Miss, and Furman, well, Lipscomb and Ole Miss in that South region. Who's the? I guess Missouri. No, Missouri's in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, they're Midwest.
Florida State would be in the South region.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to get out of that South besides Alabama, and I mean, I guess it could be Lipscomb, Ole Miss.
Are we missing someone blatantly obvious? I feel like we are. I don't know. I feel like we're missing someone blatantly obvious because if that is the case, then Lipscomb or Ole Miss sneaks in there, and all of a sudden this is a very different conversation, right? Right?
Yeah, I don't think we're missing anybody. I mean, usually it's because usually the South is has traditionally been Alabama, Florida State, Ole Miss, Tennessee snuck in there at certain points,
I
but
think it's well. I mean, Tennessee was a DNF, but they also didn't have they didn't finish as a team. I think they had a few guys. I think they'll actually be okay. Florida State, are we really that high on Florida State? Because I'm not. I
no.
don't think they're going to be that good this
Yeah,
year.
you're probably right. I mean, someone's going to have to get in there.
I think it's going to probably be Ole Miss or Lipscomb. So if that's the case, then it depends. You could argue as down as Lipscomb being 19.
Yeah. Yeah. Although if they're getting a point from Ole Miss, they're probably not making
well, that depends. If they're getting a point from Ole Miss, sure, maybe Furman does something crazy because they sometimes do this. Furman's like, "Hey,
yeah.
Are we good?" And then they come up to the next meeting, they're like, "Oh yeah, we are good." They'll do that sometimes. Iota sometimes again does this weird thing where sometimes they'll surprise in the Northeast. Who's to say that Lipscomb at 19th in this field doesn't go on to wherever their next meet is, Nuttycombe, and get another point or two there. So, because Nuttycombe will be even more point laden than this field.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know if I think if you're Lipscomb, you need to get at least 1 point out of here. If you do, then that's a good problem.
And that's Ole Miss. That's a questionable one, right? So
here's the fun part that we're not looking at any of this here. Toby Gillen was a DNF.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was
that's
top
fair.
20 the entire race through the 7K split. You add him back in, Ole Miss is way better. So if anything, Lipscomb is thrilled. Yeah. Toby Gillen is Lipscomb's favorite runner right now.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Especially when we're looking at the state of the South. It is there to be taken, that second spot.
I think this is the biggest takeaway from the podcast is the South region is mucho bad.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the first years I haven't done an in-depth analysis of the South after leaving Belmont and doing way too much research into it before all of our cross country seasons.
That's why you're on the Stride Report podcast now. Yeah. That's what we had you here for. Ben, some quick notes here before we end up with the podcast. We're going to talk Cowboy Jamboree. Men's side, Oklahoma State takes a 5-point win? 5-point win over New Mexico, 36-41. Yep. Oklahoma fourth in 108 points. Why is it missing the third? These Tiefers results. These results are all messed up.
I'm looking at the live results. I don't ever trust Tiefers.
Yeah, there's no third place team. It just skips a third place, which is supposed to be Tulsa, except they have Oklahoma in fourth place and Tulsa in fifth place, except Oklahoma still has 108 points and Tulsa still has 107 points.
107.
Just not, I don't get that. So regardless, and then I guess is that what, Oregon fifth?
Kentucky.
Fifth.
Oregon
wow,
sixth.
It doesn't even show Kentucky. Wow. Regardless, Oklahoma State did not have Brian Masau. They did not have Fawad Masaudi, and yet Dennis Kipchoge still gets the win on his home course. Oklahoma State goes 1-6-7-8-14. Big takeaway here is that once you add a Masau and once you add a Masaudi, Shapi, Guedi, and Kipchoge seemingly are stable, solid. They can't have off days. That's the most important part in all of this.
They can. One person can now. I mean, if you have Kipchoge, Shapi, Claudia, Kipchoge, and the two guys that didn't race, they have a lot more margin of error than they had before, where it's just 5.
That's true. Yeah. Between Shapi, Guedi, and Kipchoge, are any of those guys All-Americans this fall?
I think. Give me Kipchoge, possibly. I know he finished 8th, but I think there's a little more upside there than the other two guys.
All right. I'll not answer that because I'm not ready to. New Mexico does not have Abdom Samuel, and yet they go 3-4-5, 11,
18
and Matthew Kosgei. That was Collins Kiprotich, Vincent Chirchir, Evans Kiplagat, with Iker Sanchez Lopez and Matthew Kosgei. Samuel not racing makes sense. You had a long season. Are we concerned about Matthew Kosgei getting 18th place?
Yeah, I mean, I think New Mexico has to be pretty thrilled with how they ran this race, considering again you don't have Samuel and Koski, didn't give you a whole lot. I am a little concerned, but frankly, just the way everybody else ran, I don't think they need him to the level that we thought he did. We thought they did coming into this season. I still think they're going to be on the podium, even if he's not a scorer, which I think would have been kind of crazy to say at the beginning of the year.
I agree. That's insane. The idea of like Koski not being a scorer. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah, I
wild.
mean,
But that just
like,
goes to show how good New Mexico is, though.
yeah, and I mean Sanchez Lopez like stepping up with that 11th place finish. I mean, obviously we
Really
knew
nice.
Cheer and Kiplagat could be great, and they were very very good. And Kip Rotich was awesome as well. Like it's a loaded team that goes at least 6 deep now, which I think is again the same thing as Oklahoma State. You got to feel a lot better about that margin of error now.
If you want to chat about Oklahoma and Tulsa, you can go, or you want to read up about that, go check out the site. I wrote about them in the Cowboy Jamboree, along with Oregon and Western Colorado and Kentucky. Women's side, BYU takes the win, 34 to Oklahoma State's 57. New Mexico in third with 65 points. BYU without Hendegren or Hutchins, and yet Riley Chamberlain gets second, Rohotinsky fourth, along with J.C. Farmer in eighth, Lexi Goff in ninth, Neela Roberts in 11th, Taylor Lovell in 12th, and Zariel Makia in 15th. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State, they get Iska Chalinga with the win, Maureen Ruto in 5th, and Bila Chipkuri returns in 7th place, and yet there's a drop-off then to the 21st place position. New Mexico in 3rd. They get Marian Chipnagedich in 3rd, which is great. Great contingent of 4 women in the top 20. Karari struggles in 32nd place. She was an All-American last fall. And of course, Koski does not run. She had a late season, of course, in the summer. Thoughts, takeaways, or is there really anything you can't take away?
Yeah, I mean, I think BYU looked exactly like we thought they would. They're, I think, fairly clearly. I think TSR number 1 when the new update comes out, just because there's less ambiguity there.
Ooh, is that true? You think?
I think so. Yeah. I liked what we saw out of some women when we weren't necessarily banking on, like Farmer and Goff and Roberts. I think we knew they would be deep, but I think they, assuming that we get a Hutchins and Hendegren sighting in the next by the end of October, I think they look very, very well positioned. Oklahoma State, I think the biggest story is Chipkuri looks not her complete self, but she looks pretty darn good, that was like the biggest X factor with Oklahoma State. They needed her to be at least All-American caliber, and she looks like she can at least get back to that level. And New Mexico, slightly concerning. They beat Oklahoma State with Koski, but not by a lot. And I don't love that after this first race. Certainly stock down for them after one race.
Yeah, Karari will be better, but even then, I'm like, not ideal. So yeah, I would agree with all of that analysis, except for maybe BYU moving to 1. It could be. I mean, we'll depend. I mean, I'm not the only one who handles the rankings. We have 4 other contributors who we have to speak with, but okay. I think that covers it. I think that's good. Awesome. Go check out the site. We analyzed every single team from Gans Creek. Analyzing also the top 7 teams from the Cowboy Jamboree. You can see that article on the site. We're going to have previews and predictions for Joe Piani, assuming we can get those entries early enough. Maybe Paul Short. Unsure yet. And then maybe some high school stuff as well. Go check out YouTube. Got a lot of traction on YouTube. I think we just hit 1 million views in the last 28 days. So shout out Lauren Colley. Great stuff there. Thank you again, Gavin Struve. And thank you, Ben, for putting up with me for another almost near hour. Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Garrett. Well, until next week, I'll talk to you.